Welcome to this deep dive.
Great to be here.
Today we're getting right to the heart of, well, something really foundational for navigating life's financial ups and downs. We're kind of peeling back the layers on a principle that comes through loud and clear in the material we've been looking at.
How would you
The essential need for an emergency fund.
Yes. Absolutely critical. If the sources we've dived into teach us anything, it's that life is just unpredictable, isn't it?
Totally. No matter how well you plan, stuff happens.
Exactly. There are moments where the unexpected just hits, a sudden illness, maybe losing a job, the car breaking down.
Oh, yeah. Or a big home repair you definitely didn't see coming.
Right. And the research, it consistently shows that having this dedicated financial tool, this emergency fund, is really the most effective way to buffer yourself against those moments.
So that's really our mission today. To unpack what this tool actually is, why it's highlighted as being so critical across, well, different financial viewpoints, and crucially, how the sources break down the practical steps you can actually take to build one. It's all about getting you the distilled insights, straight from the material.
Okay, so let's start with that core definition then, right from the sources. What exactly is an emergency fund? Because the material, it's actually quite specific.
It really is. It's defined not just as any old savings, but specifically as a sum of money you keep separate, deliberately set aside just for those unforeseen circumstances we mentioned.
Right.
The key isn't just having the money, it's earmarking it, giving it a clear, single purpose.
And the sources put huge emphasis on the separation aspect. I mean, this isn't money for, say, a vacation you're planning next year, or a down payment on a house in 5 years, or even just your regular bills. It's totally distinct from other savings goals.
Right.
The material really stresses its use is strictly limited to genuine emergencies, unexpected necessary things, stuff you couldn't have planned for but absolutely must deal with.
Like things that really impact your ability to live or earn, maybe, like job loss or medical stuff.
Exactly. Job loss, medical crises, essential repairs like keeping your home safe or your car running so you can get to work, those kinds of things.
So it's like a financial moat, protecting your regular life when things go sideways.
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
Okay, so we know what it is, and maybe more importantly, what it's not used for. The next big question is why? Why is this one tool highlighted so consistently, so strongly across the sources? Why is it seen as so necessary?
Well, the material lays out a pretty compelling case, and it focuses heavily on your personal well-being just as much as the numbers in your bank account.
Okay.
The first, and often the benefit people feel most immediately, according to the sources, is just profound peace of mind.
Yeah, that really comes through, doesn't it? The research, it cites people who've built these funds, and this recurring theme isn't just about avoiding financial disaster. It's like a tangible reduction in just daily anxiety. Knowing you have this buffer, even if it's just a small one to start, for life's curveballs.
Yeah.
It just changes how you approach your finances day to day, your overall stress levels too.
One source even linked it to sleeping better. That sense of security, it actually translates into real psychological benefits.
Wow. Okay, that's powerful. It's a big mental shift.
It really is. And that emotional resilience, it directly supports the second major benefit, the sources detail, avoiding the debt trap.
Ah, yes.
Oh.
This is where it gets very real for a lot of people, I think. When an unexpected expense hits and you don't have that fund ready.
Right.
The fastest, maybe easiest path seems like high-interest debt. Credit cards, payday loans, stuff that just comes with punishing interest rates and fees.
And the sources are crystal clear on this. An emergency fund is your number one defense against being forced into that kind of high-cost borrowing just to cover a crisis.
It stops a temporary problem turning into this long-term debt burden that can take years, literally years, to escape.
Exactly. The material gives examples, even a seemingly small emergency, like a $1,000 car repair, that can push someone without savings onto a debt treadmill that ends up costing them thousands more in interest over time.
So the emergency fund basically pays for itself, sometimes, many times over, just by stopping that from happening.
Absolutely. And avoiding those desperate measures, well, that leads straight into the third crucial benefit the sources highlight, freedom of action.
Ooh, I like the sound of that. It's about keeping control when things feel chaotic.
Precisely. Think about scenarios like losing your job. The sources discuss this a lot. If you have zero savings, you're under immense pressure, right? You feel like you have to take the very first job offer that comes along.
Yeah, even if it's not a good fit or doesn't pay well or use your skills, it's just survival mode.
Exactly, survival mode. But With an emergency fund that covers, say, several months of your essential expenses, the material shows you have breathing room.
Okay.
You can actually afford to be a bit more strategic in your job search. You can look for roles that genuinely fit your career goals, maybe negotiate for better pay, or even take a little time to retrain if that's what's needed.
And that's not just about jobs, right? It applies to any tough spot.
Any difficult situation. You have the freedom, the option, to make choices that are better for your long-term well-being, rather than just being financially cornered into the first, possibly bad decision.
So it shifts you from being reactive to being more proactive, even right in the middle of a crisis.
Yeah.
Wow. The sources really make a powerful case that this fund isn't just, money sitting there. It's about resilience, it's about control, and massively reducing that financial stress.
Absolutely. So we get the what and the very compelling why. The natural next step, which the material thankfully tackles head on, is the how.
Right. How do you actually do this? How do you build this essential safety net? Especially if maybe you're starting from scratch or feel like your budget is already stretched super thin.
Yeah, and the sources provide a surprisingly straightforward roadmap. I mean, they don't sugarcoat it, it takes effort, but they break it down into manageable actions. Step 1 is setting a clear goal.
Okay, a target.
Exactly. And the really consistent recommendation found across pretty much all the material is aiming to save 3 to 6 months of your essential living expenses.
And they emphasize essential.
Big emphasis on essential. We're talking rent or mortgage, utilities, food, basic transportation, getting to work, minimum debt payments. It's about figuring out the bare minimum you need to survive reasonably comfortably for that period.
So not the lattes and the streaming subscriptions.
Probably not those, no. And while, 6 months obviously offers a stronger buffer, especially if things are uncertain or maybe your income varies.
Right, like freelancers or gig workers.
Exactly. But 3 months is often suggested as a really solid starting target. The sources often suggest tracking your spending for a month or two just to get a really accurate picture of what that baseline number actually is for you.
Okay, so calculating that number makes the goal concrete, even if it feels maybe a bit big at first.
It can feel big, yeah. But that leads right into the second step, which is maybe the most encouraging part the sources advocate. Save little by little.
Okay, small steps.
This is where the material really pushes back against that feeling of being overwhelmed. You don't need to find thousands of dollars overnight. The sources strongly encourage just starting.
Just begin.
Just begin. Even saving, say, $25 or $50 a week, or honestly even less if that's all you can manage right now. But doing it consistently, that's way better than waiting until you think you'll have some big lump sum to save later.
Because that later might never come, or something else comes up first.
Precisely. The power is in building the habit, the consistency. Small amounts, they really do accumulate over time. And seeing that balance grow, even just a tiny bit each week or month, that provides motivation. It builds that sense of momentum.
It's about progress, not perfection.
Yeah.
Makes sense. And to help keep that progress going and keep the money focused on its specific job. The third practical step the sources universally recommend is creating a separate account for this fund.
Yeah, this is presented as a really critical behavioral hack, actually.
Oh, how so?
Well, keeping your emergency money in the same checking account you use for groceries and bills.
Yeah.
Or even in just a regular savings account that's linked and super easy to transfer from, it just makes it far too tempting to dip into for non-emergencies.
Yeah.
That sale that looks too good to miss, a spontaneous night out, something you want but don't actually need.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
Almost. One source called it building a velvet rope around the money.
Huh. I like that, a velvet rope. It's there if you absolutely need it, but there's that slight psychological barrier, that little bit of friction to accessing it.
Makes you pause.
Exactly. The sources often suggest putting this fund in an account that's separate from your main bank, maybe a high-yield savings account, ISA at an online bank, perhaps.
Why there?
Well, they tend to offer slightly better interest rates than traditional savings accounts, which is nice, though the main thing is still liquidity. You need to be able to get the money reasonably quickly in an emergency.
Right, not locked away for years.
No. Definitely not. But the slight friction of having to log into a different system, initiate a transfer between banks, that can be just enough to make you pause and really ask yourself, is this truly an emergency according to the rules I set?
So the location helps, but the separation itself is the most crucial bit.
That's what the material stresses, yes. The separation.
thinking about navigating these different account types and figuring how to budget to free up even those small amounts, and then where this emergency fund fits into your bigger financial picture, it really highlights how interconnected all these personal finance topics are.
Absolutely. It really does. Building this foundation, the emergency fund, it's vital. But you're right. It's one piece of a much larger puzzle.
Yeah.
I mean, the world of personal finance has so many dimensions, right? Budgeting, debt management, investing, planning for retirement. It all fits together.
So if exploring these practical steps for the emergency fund has maybe sparked some questions for you, the listener, about other areas of your financial life, just remember that this deep dive is only one resource.
That's a great point. There's a whole catalog of deep dives available, and each one breaks down different complex topics, always based on expert sources.
Definitely worth exploring.
We really encourage you to check out those other deep dives to keep building your understanding and your confidence, whether it's mastering your budget, understanding maybe how to pay down debt more efficiently, or even dipping your toe into starting your investment journey.
Yeah.
There's material waiting to be explored that can help you on your path to better financial health.
Consider that your nudge, your guide to keep exploring. Okay, so bringing it back specifically to the emergency fund now. The sources seem to wrap up with a kind of core philosophy and a really crucial reminder for maintaining this safety net once you've actually started building it.
They do, and the key philosophy, which serves as a really powerful analogy used across the material, is to think of this money as financial insurance.
Oh, financial insurance. I like that. It's like car insurance or health insurance, right? It's something you really hope you never, ever have to use. You pay into it, begrudgingly sometimes, but the value is in the protection it offers, not in actually spending it. But if something, catastrophic does happen.
And having that insurance is absolutely invaluable. Life-saving, potentially.
Yeah.
Precisely. And just like with any insurance policy you might have to make a claim on, if you ever do have to tap into your emergency fund because a genuine emergency hits.
Yes.
The sources are really emphatic about the instruction that comes next. Make replenishing that fund a top priority immediately afterward.
Okay, so don't just use it and forget it. Don't let that safety net stay depleted for long.
Exactly. Once the immediate crisis is managed, the goal shifts right back to building that fund back up to your target level, whatever that is, as quickly as you reasonably can. It's all about maintaining that protection over the long haul.
Got it. Refill the tank.
Refill the tank. So the main message, really distilled from all the material we've looked at, is that the emergency fund acts as your crucial financial safety net. Its fundamental purpose is simply to protect your life from major financial disruption when those genuine crises hit.
It's not just about the money itself.
No, it's not just about accumulating a sum of money. It's about the stability, the security, and importantly, the options that sum provides you during what might be your most vulnerable moments.
And that final, perhaps most motivating thought that seems to run through the sources.
Yes.
It connects right back to that very first benefit we talked about, peace of mind.
Yes. The material basically states, the sooner you build it, the more at ease you will feel.
That feeling of security isn't some far-off reward you get only when it's full.
No. It starts building from the very first dollar, the very first pound or euro that you set aside. Every small step contributes directly to reducing that background financial anxiety and building your resilience.
It's an investment in your emotional well-being, not just your bank account.
Beautifully put. Yes.
Okay, so as we bring this deep dive toward a close, let's just recap that core idea one more time. An emergency fund. It isn't just a static savings account collecting dust.
No.
It's a dynamic tool. It's for building personal resilience, significantly cutting down stress when life throws those inevitable uncertainties at you. And crucially, it empowers you. It gives you peace of mind, the freedom to make the best choices for yourself and your family, even when you're in the middle of a crisis. That's the really consistent message from the sources.
Absolutely. And maybe building on that, here's a final thought for you, the listener. Consider what one small, concrete step you could take this week. Just one thing. To either start building or maybe add to your own financial safety net.
Okay, like what?
Well, maybe it's finally calculating that 3 to 6 month goal number we talked about. Or maybe it's just opening that separate savings account online. Or maybe it's as simple as deciding right now to transfer, say, $10 or £10 from your checking to that new account this Friday when you get paid.
Something small but real.
Exactly. No matter how small it feels, that single step is progress. It's the beginning of building that vital peace of mind the sources keep describing.
That actionable step, that's where the real change begins. And remember, like we said, this is just one vital piece of managing your money effectively.
That's right. So if you're ready to continue exploring other essential topics in personal finance, or frankly, any of the diverse subjects we cover, we absolutely encourage you to explore the wealth of other deep dives available in the catalog.
There's always more to learn and discover. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into the essential world of emergency funds.
We really hope these insights, drawn directly from the source material, empower you to take that next step towards greater financial security.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you.